benches. Da da da. Hey, I'm gonna do some just quick chordal things. So we do chords. Chords. The wonderful chords. So I don't have the iPad set up right now, which is good. And let's do some basics here. 4 fundamental kinds of chords: major, minor, augmented, diminished. Okay, if you learn all of those, you're going to be good. If you learn all the major chords, then the minor, augmented, diminished are just alterations of those chords. So this is going to be a little fast track lane for some fundamentals. The major chord is made up of a major third and a minor third interval. Okay, interval is distance between 2 notes. Okay, we've spoken this about a few times. Intervals are distance between notes, so you need one note and another note because you're going to measure the distance. Okay, the measurement is in semitones. Okay, and semitones are any adjacent note on the piano. Okay, any of those notes when they're next to each other, if you want to measure them as if you're like measuring by tape or something, by semitones. So there are semitones. Many semitones together make up a chromatic scale, and a scale is just a sequence of many notes. So the notes aren't played at the same time, they're played one after the other. The whole piano, if you played all the white notes and black notes, are just semitones away. That's cool, Michaelis. You chill out. I just want to make sure if you have any questions, you feel okay to ask. So the major third interval is 4 semitones. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we don't count the first one. We count every note after the first one. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the minor third interval, which is the second half of the major chord, is 3 semitones. 1, 2, 3. So a major chord is made up of a major third interval and a minor third interval. Okay? And the major chord has a somewhat triumphant, regal, joyful, happy, they're very very binary ways of looking at it, but it's usually what we do when we talk about theory. So because there are 12 notes in the chromatic scale, or 12 individual notes in Western music, all you need to know is that there is a major scale for each of those notes. C major, C sharp major, D major, E flat major, or D sharp major you could say, but generally lean towards E flat major, E major, F major, G flat major, G major, A flat major, A major, B flat major, B major. Okay? All I'm doing is moving up a semitone each time, because if I hold the same pattern for the C major, then I'm going to be playing the major chord for each of those notes. Okay? So my general kind of theory is that if you just learn all the major chords, there's only 12 of them, just knock them down, 12 of them, easy. You'll be in a good position, because then you can manipulate the major chord, manipulate it good, and get other chords happening. So all you need to know is to move the major chord into a minor chord, we just change the second note in the chord, also known as the third. Okay? It's also known as the third because in the major scale, it is the third note corresponding to that scale. Okay? So just to elaborate that a little bit more, so we've got the C major. Okay, so that's the chord, but if I play the C major scale, tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. Yeah, that's a C major scale. So, if you look at the C major scale, scales degree number 1, number 3, and number 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 3, 5. 1, 3, 5 are the components of the major scale. Okay, sorry, the major chord. Okay, so if I flatten the third, I get a minor chord. And then that's a minor chord. Okay, so we get the minor chord is made up of a minor third interval, which is 3 semitones, and then a major third interval, which is 4 semitones. That's the minor chord. Then we move back to the C major chord, and then to get an augmented, we sharpen the 5th, and then we move back to the major chord. To get a diminished, we flatten the 3rd, and then flatten the 5th, and then we get a C diminished. So if you can learn the 4 chords of each note, at least the 4 fundamental chords, you'll be in a really good position. So if you can be able to go F major, bam, A flat minor, B flat minor, E flat minor, questions. So it's just a little, I just want to keep touching on fundamentals. We might spend like 10 minutes at the beginning of the class on fundamentals, which can be very useful. If you have any questions on that, please let me know. Pop it in the chat below. Otherwise, I might jump on to some more analysis. So let's look at the Glamorous Life from A Little Night Music. This is the arrangement that's based on the film A Little Night Music, not based on the musical A Little Night Music, but it's fundamentally very similar. Oh, actually, no, it's not. It just goes into a completely different section after the first section. Oh, thanks, Makaris. I think my phone was just being weird. So let's look at what we got here. Jacket comes off for song analysis. I don't know why. Let's look at some of the words. So tempo di mazurka, I think that's a style of music. I need to look into that. Excuse me. But let's look at the crotchet pulse. That's how many crotchet beats per minute. So if you measured this every minute, I haven't seen the film either, but this arrangement is so much better than the musical. I musical directed a production of A Little Night Music a few years ago. This version, though, is it's good. As you can see, it was performed at Broadway Unplugged February 2019. So I'm going to change one particular setting. No, I'm not. Don't touch settings. Just leave it. Just leave it, Daniela. Just leave it. I'm with it. So if I was to set a timer for 60 seconds and clicked 152 times within that 60 seconds, then I would have the tempo of the piece. Of course, no one's got time for that. You could divide it by half and do 30 seconds and do like 70 something or other. But we just do 152. Mazurka, not a Polish dance, or something like that. That actually sounds like super on point. So, and just so you can listen to it. So yeah, you could, it has a sort of like a boom, pyum, bum, boom, pyum, bum, boom, pyum, bum, boom, pyum, bum, sort of a dance-like quality. I also think that, the character in this song, or the child, she's playing the piano at the beginning, so it has this sort of like music exercise sort of feeling to it. That last note's wrong, I think. Anyways, let's look a little deeper, shall we? 152 beats per minute. Did I even work that out? Tum, 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 tum. So that metronome was set to 4/4, so it actually gave a predominant click on beat 1. Tum, 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 tum. But we are in 3/4, which means the 3 is how many, the 4 is of what. So 3, how many? 3. 3 of what? Quarter. Okay, what's a quarter? A quarter is a crotchet beat. Okay, just going back to some basics here. Very crudely drawn. We refer to the top one as a whole note, then the minim as a half note, and then the crotchet as a quarter note. That's really crudely drawn. But the whole note can also be referred to as a semibreve, and the minim can be referred to or the half note can be referred to as a minim, and quarter note can be referred to as a crotchet. So we go 3/4. Cool. 3 crotchet beats per bar. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Mezzo forte, sort of a medium volume. So it's not too soft, not too loud. Legato, which is to be played smoothly. So rather than everything kind of trails into another. Of course, playing legato on piano is quite difficult because it's a percussive instrument or a percussion instrument. Look at the key signature. So fun fact, when we're looking at what the key signature is, if we just want to know straight away, we look at the second last flat in the key signature. In this case, this is only for flat keys, by the way. In this case, it is the E flat. So we are in the key of E flat major. Of course, that is the general key, the general home that we are in. And the first note starts on E flat. But then we quickly move to more of a C bass, which indicates we're in the relative minor of E flat. The relative minor is a minor third below the key that we're working in. So every major scale has a relative minor, and you work that out by building it off the 6th degree of the major scale. So this is our E flat major. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the 6 is C, and so what I would do is play from C to C, and I'd play all the notes in E flat major. All right. So that's C relative minor or natural minor. Okay. C harmonic minor has the raised 7th. And then C melodic minor has the raised 6th and 7th, and then it neutralizes on the way back. Of course, if you're playing in a jazz context, you keep it raised the 6th and the 7th on the way back. And that's what we refer to as a jazz minor. Jazz minor. Good to have a jazz minor. So, the left hand is written in treble clef. All right. So, generally speaking, middle C would be here. Middle C would be here. Okay, so we find middle C on the piano, which is generally right in the middle of the piano. Not the best way to work it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 4 C's up from the last C, from the lower C on the keyboard. So that's middle C. So if I want to find middle C, I want to find this E flat. Remember that whenever I have flats in a key signature, it does change the notes that are in on the stave. Okay, so although I see the note E, the key is E flat, and the flats in those are B flat, E flat, and A flat. So it means I need to flatten every E, A, B, unless there's a natural sign next to it, in which case I play E, A, B, the white notes instead of the black note. Cool. So I know where middle C is, which means I can work out that this E flat is above middle C by a minor third, and then this E flat is an octave above that. Okay, so it's important to be able to notice what octave certain notes are in and be able to identify them on the piano. We're in 3/4, and we've got quaver pulses. So if I wanted to break this down rhythmically, I would just find the main beats, 1, 2, 3. Remember, it's 3 quarter notes in a bar, and a quaver is an 8th note. So 2 quavers or 2 8th notes go into a quarter. So 3 quarter notes, these guys are 8th notes. So together they make up a quarter note. Quarter note, not a quarter. Okay, so I'm aware that 3 quarters doesn't quite make up a whole bar, but that is the magic of music theory and the slight confusion. Okay, so if I want to break down the rhythm, I go 1, 2, 3. So that's just finding my crotchet pulses, but I need to divide them again into quavers. So I don't just add more numbers. I just write a plus symbol, which represents and. So then my bar is divided into 1 and 2 and 3 and. So 1 and 2 and 3 and. So I've worked out that there's an E flat at the beginning, F, G. Okay, so these notes here, they're repeated. So always look for patterns. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. Of course, you could also look at this as a 6/8, 1 and 2 and. Okay, which would be 6/8 is the same as 3/4, but the emphasis is on a different beat, whereas the emphasis for 3/4 is on beat 1 and then a softer beat on beats 2 and 3. So on 6/8, the emphasis is on the 1 and the 2, 1 and a 2 ender. But you could also play it with the emphasis on beats 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, which is probably slightly more appropriate because we are in the key of 3/4. So the 2 lines are an octave apart. We can sort of look into that with a bit more analysis. And we're going to go into landscape mode, and hopefully, technically this piano line keeps continuing. So we can see that in an extra stave here. Okay, so that actually keeps continuing because it's happening whilst the character is singing. It's important to know that when you have a vertical line like this, all these events are going at the same time. All right, so when I'm reading, I read this system first. A system is just a group of staves that are grouped by that vertical line. Then I read this, and then I read this. And I'm reading left to right, which I know is probably implied, but you can't always assume that. Left to right, left to right, left to right. Okay. Now I look a bit closer to the actual piano accompaniment. So traditionally, this piano would be played on stage. You know, thinking about the actual theatrical, staged version of it. This stave would be played by the character, whilst the other instruments are playing this. From my recollection, it's not just piano, but it's a combination of a few different instruments that create that sort of the aesthetic of the sound of the song. We've got grace notes here. Grace notes, appoggiaturas, they come just before the note. It's sort of depending on the style whether the grace note precedes the beat or the grace note occurs on the beat. 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I would say that the more classical approach, don't quote me on this, but is to have the grace note occurring on the beat. 1. Okay, and then we get the semblances of harmonic minor, yeah? Which is the B natural, yeah? And if you want to get super technical, you hold that left note, which I'd say is some sort of bass note or like a cello. You could say that the top line could be violins. The bass clef, the inner voicing, the C to B, could be a viola. And then we've got the lower note, which is probably a bass or a cello. And then we keep going. This is quite interesting. Moving to like a bit of a D major chord on the C minor. So we've had a lot of C minor with that sort of raised seventh, and then we've had a bit of sort of an F minory business. This is sort of implying an F minor over C, and then we've moved back to a C minor with, that's an E flat over C, if you'd like to look at it like that, to D. That's sort of still implying a bit of F minor business. C minor 7, okay, indicated by the flattened 7, the B flat. That creates a minor 7 interval in C. And then, so it's quite interesting. So C minor, and then D major over C minor. Yeah, so it's kind of like, the best way of looking at this is that the C is pedaling. Okay, for something to pedal, it's a recurring event that is occurring. It's recurring for a long period of time, so that the ear adjusts to the C. Pretty much the C in the bass. So I would say that all these chords are pedaling over C. So even though these chords might be a bit different at times, the C is constant. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, That's definitely F minor, yeah? It's an F minor in second inversion. Okay, inversions are just taking the lowest note in a chord and taking them up the octave. So F minor in root position, F minor in first inversion, take the F up an octave, F minor in second position, take the A flat up an octave. As soon as you get a chord with 4 notes in it, it has an opportunity to have a third inversion, because each configuration has a different permutation, and you can kind of just keep going with that. Then we keep going with a bit more of a major business here by the major third, the E natural, yeah. So, but it moves back to the minor. So we get a lot of confusion here. You know, you start to analyze it. It's like, well, how do we feel about this major minor business? Major, minor. I would look at this as a B flat 7. So already start to learn the chords, yeah? So major, that B flat 7 here is actually functioning as a dominant. It's actually leading us back to an E flat chord. Now these ledger notes are quite high, and you just have to count them, to be honest, if you're a bit lost. So that's an A. Good boys deserve fruit always. I need to learn a new acronym. I'm working on it. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay, so if that's G, this is an F, because we worked out that the F is in the space, and that is that note there. Hopefully that makes sense. So we've got an... That's just a bunch of E flat major, that's fine. The next chord. Starts to get quite dissonant here. This is quite a common, so this is the 2 chord, right? In C minor. So it's a minor 7 flat 5. So if we had to, it's based on the note D. Keep throwing my pencil away, but I always need it. D, okay, it's got the minor 3rd, the F. It's got the flattened 5th, the A flat, and it's got the C, which is the minor 7 interval. Okay, D minor 7, flat 5. The minor 7 implies that two ways the minor 7 looks at it, that it's a minor chord, but it is also a minor 7 interval, which is a flattened 7 interval on top. Okay, which is 2 semitones below the root note. Okay, so this is a major 7 interval, major 7, which is a semitone above the root note, and then a minor 7 interval is a flattened version of that. Okay, so you just flatten it by 1 semitone. That was interestingly explained. So here we get nice 2-5 kind of movement. Even though the D is still implied, it's actually an inversion. But we get this 2 chord. Good call, Michaelis. Da 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 da. Minor 7 flat 5 la 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 la. So, well, we're coming to the end anyway, so maybe we'll just wrap up there. Cool. Does anyone have any questions? Probably not, because there's a lot of information. All right. I'll play through the piece a little bit, and I wonder if I can get... Pause it there because I'm playing nonsense right now. Anyway, so welcome and goodbye. I'll hang on for a little bit longer because I don't know what's happening right now. But that was music theory with